Howdy, howdy, everybody, and welcome back to Stranded Deep in Conversation, where I just go on about things that I like to talk about, or at least want to talk about. I don't need to like what I'm talking about. Uh, First off, this is also the first thing I'm recording where I think I got the audio right. So, I would like to formally apologize to everyone who has watched anything in the last entirety of my existence, because yeah, I didn't really do the audio right. Because I usually see how I work is I have my volume set to like 50 or 60, so everything always seemed either too low or too loud for me, but then I would like play it back and it would sound fine because I would turn up the volume or turn down the volume depending on how. Because I just in my head, my volume switch. Like if I pump this up to 100, in my head this is what y'all were hearing, but apparently it's just however it is in the software. So y'all were only hearing whatever you were hearing, and whether it was too loud for me or too quiet for me was specifically because I had the volume set to either too high or too low, and I just assumed it was the other. I assumed it worked both ways, so it didn't. So, oopsie. So, hopefully from here on, it should be okay. Yeah. So I guess it's more just general content in terms. Uh, After Stray's done, I would like to try to just do some more just dumb things, not necessarily like series stuff. Maybe I'll do a series, but it won't be like constant, like episode. It'll probably be episode, fun thing, like dumb thing, dumb thing, episode, dumb thing. Just try to alternate it, like how it started with Mafia. I might try to finish Mafia after Stray's done, but that will be only every other time. And also, sorry for if anyone here has been looking forward to Raft. I haven't had time to do any crazy edits, and that takes a lot of time. So I do apologize, but I will be getting back on that. I promise. It might take a while. I don't have too much left in terms of actual recorded stuff for it. I think I have like maybe 4 or 5 videos worth of stuff. But it's a lot. It's a lot to ask, because if I don't have a day off, then it just takes so much out of me. So I do apologize. I will try to get more of that out. I just need to stop being a lazy piece of shit, essentially. But yeah, so hopefully some better stuff on the rise. Because better is a bad term. I enjoy what I'm putting out. I'm having fun with Stray, so I hope you all are too. But regardless, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about what happened this week in retail. And this week was actually an absolutely insane one for all the, I don't want to say wrong reasons, but for reasons. And I can't, at least I don't think I can, necessarily say what a lot of those reasons are. So I'm sorry to hype you up, but some of it's more internal, so I don't know if I'm able to say anything without getting in trouble if anyone finds me talking about it. And I'm not trying to get into any trouble, so we're just gonna stick to some of the things that stood out and just like a day-to-day, this is a wacky experience sort of thing, and not like a specific. I'm not trying to get super specific with it in terms of like the job, you know. But let's start off with, oh my god. Come on, there we go. Yeah, so let's start off with something that happened at the beginning of the week. There was a lady who was getting baby food, and she didn't want like snacks or treats or anything. She wanted like cans of like baby foods. I guess like, you know, like the banana stuff, the peaches or whatever the heck baby food flavors are. I haven't had baby food since, believe it or not, I was a baby, so I don't really know. And I'm looking, like I said, I know we don't normally sell that, but I was like, maybe we do. Maybe she came to this store, maybe she actually knows what she's talking about. So I look and I look and I look, there's nothing there. Check back in our storage area. Nothing there. So I'm like, alright, sorry, we don't have anything. And she's like, yeah, it's okay, I just wanted to grab something for my cat. For her cat. She's feeding her cat baby food. And I didn't look it up or anything, if that's okay. But like, what are you talking about? Why are you feeding them baby food? Why are you feeding your cat? That's just weird. There's cat food. Cat food exists. And most baby food is like sweet. It's you end up like fruits and stuff, or like vegetables. So what the hell are you doing feeding your cat like vegetables and stuff? Unless you're feeding them like the pork and beans of baby food. That just sounds awful. It was just weird. Another thing that happened. I'm gonna try and go in chronological order. This one's kind of nuts. So we had, I should say, because we're getting our building painted this week. It's pretty much already happened. So that was fun. A week of paint fumes, just all over the place. It was wild. And before they painted, obviously we had to get most of the stuff off the wall. And one thing we had on the wall was a wall of like balloons, because we have a bunch of balloons that we can blow up. We have some helium, and we were like, all right, let's get on these balloons. And one of a coworker who used to work there put them all up on the wall, like one of each, so that everyone could see what the options were, so that people actually knew, hey, we do balloons. Very smart idea. It looked very nice. However, we need to take it down because that wall was going to be painted. And so, taking it down, it went like along the entire wall up to the ceiling. So it was already a fairly long thing. But luckily, the gamer of a man who put that up had the thought process of actually like taping them all together, so they came off in one big thing. But that's not the point of the story. The moment I went to like at the top, I got a step ladder and a big old stick, just a nice big stick that we used to like shove things down the box crusher with. I grabbed that, and I just went. I literally went I just put it under behind the balloon to like pry it off the wall, and then all the lights, all the music, everything just cuts from the store for like not even a second, for like maybe a second and a half, and it just went back on. And like music didn't go back on for only like 10 minutes or so, but like the lights and everything went back on. I'm like, what the heck just happened? And like I'm freaking out because I'm over there like just standing up on the thing. I'm like, did I do that? And everyone, like, a couple of customers were there, and like my coworker was there. They were laughing because it was just like, yeah, you did it. Yeah, oh yeah, you definitely did that. There's totally a switch on the wall that you just poked that flicks off all the freaking power in the store, which I genuinely thought was happening. Because like, what else? Like I did this one thing that just happened to do that. So I just assumed that was what was going on. Apparently not. Apparently it was like a thing that happened to everybody or something. Because I guess I don't know, someone hit something like a cable, like a pole or something. But yeah, either way. But everything went off except for like one register in particular. But then that was still having issues because the entire store was offline. But all the registers were off, the lights went off, everything in the store just went bloop, bloop. And it took like half an hour for anything to actually like get back online, which was just such a pain because I just came in for the day and I was like, all right, cool, we're gonna take down this balloon wall and I'm gonna get started doing actual stuff. That was not what they had in store. What they had in store was just us trying to figure out how to run a store with our technology when the technology was just literally not working at all. So that was fun, to say the least. But yeah, it was just a very strange moment. With that specific coworker, every time I work with them, it seems that just something crazy happens. Not necessarily in a bad way, but it's in a fun way, which is why I genuinely enjoy working with them so much. It's always a joy. But yeah, weird power outage. Another thing that happened, this is probably like one of the funniest things in my head, is that when this happened, like for the next like 15 minutes, I just couldn't stop laughing about it. I almost laughed just in customers' faces about this that happened before. It's not even that funny. It's just that there's four kids who were coming to the register to like buy stuff, and the last guy was like, "Hey, can you take a picture of us?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." I'm like, "Yeah, I could do that, no problem." And he's a really nice phone. That kid's got a nice phone. And I'm like, okay, yeah. So I took the picture. It was super smooth, super easy. I asked them how they wanted it, vertical, horizontal. They said vertical was fine. So I'm like, okay. And they were all in frame. Took the picture. And I'm like, oh, looks good. And then it's a smile. And I'm like, did I not get the picture? And I just see me on the top left of their picture, just completely blocking like two of their faces. and and like I'm not even like smiling or anything because I didn't know what was going on. So I'm just like there like disgruntled and confused. Like I'm starting to like my neck's all scrunched in, like it's like freaking like an extra chin's popping up. And it's just like just see me looking absolutely just fucking shit faced. I look shit faced. It's like just on these kids' picture. And I just block like a quarter of the screen with my face. And I'm like, yeah, it came out alright, but then my face wound up on it. Just thinking of the face I pulled. And they're just staring at it. They stare at it for like 30 seconds. And then they're just like, oh, we can probably delete it. Yeah, it's fine. Thanks, man. And they leave. It's just thinking about that face. Just like, did you get the picture? Yeah, and then there's just me. Just like, that cracks me up so much. And like the next couple people I help at the register, they were just dealing with me like in giggles and hysterics. It was so good. Oh man. And the last, I have actually technically two more things. We do some photos. We do photos. And we have like a machine for it. And our machine just out of nowhere started just spam clicking itself. Like we're supposed to use the mouse or a touch screen for it, but it just kept clicking itself. So it just kept having a seizure, and it kept like clicking things, trying to check itself out. And like I thought like someone either hacked it because it was like hitting options and then like hitting checkout, and then but then also like, it would just spam the middle of the screen for no reason. So I'm like, what the hell? Are we haunted? It's got a mind of its own, and I still don't really know what happened with that to this day. But and then out of nowhere, all like the error messages just pop up in Spanish. So I'm trying to like fix this thing, but now it's talking Spanish at me. All the photo options are Spanish, all the setting things are Spanish. Everything was in Spanish. I don't know how it became Spanish. I don't know how they figured that out. And I'm like, okay, well maybe if I just go to the settings, I can maybe fix it. But in order to get into the settings, I need to put in a passcode. And I'm like, okay, it's probably just my code. It's all in Spanish, the instructions, so I just kind of have to assume. But I'm like, that's a fair assumption, right? But I can't, because it's just spamming the center of the screen, which you'd think would mean, oh, it's spamming 5 over and over again. It was spamming 9 over and over again, alright? It's a big difference there. It was literally just spamming a number. I couldn't put in a number of my own because it would just get overridden by that thing just spamming constantly. It was so funny. And then eventually I'm like, okay, we're just gonna reset it. And then I flipped it off, I flipped it back on. It wound up in the exact same position. I'm like, how is this possible? I just reset it. And then I reset it again, and then somehow it fixed itself. I'm like, you know what? C'est la vie. Great, it's fixed. But then someone tried doing a passport photo. Just do that too. And freaking just out of, and it set itself for a Japanese passport photo because I'm like, this photo doesn't look right. It doesn't look like the same size as normal. When it rebooted, it automatically set itself up for a Japanese passport photo. I don't even I didn't know you could do that. So that it just blew. It's so stupid. It was the stupidest thing. But the last thing that I want to bring up because I feel like it's probably the thing that has most like meat to it, and might just wind up being a topic for today. Is I guess we can call it interesting scam people, right? Because or like just interesting scam moments, or like I don't know what I'm gonna call this one, but it's based off of this particular instance, which happened this week in retail, which will end off the segment, but also segue us perfectly into the topic of today's episode. I had this. I was vacuuming because it was pretty late in the day, so I'm like, okay, all this painting's been going on. There's chips of wall all over the floor, everywhere, as far as the eye could see. I should start vacuuming this up before it becomes an issue. Which that's just, I'm just a good worker. I got good morals and all that jazz, and a bag of chips. But regardless, in the middle of me doing this, some guy just walks up to me, and I have music in because, listen, I'm vacuuming. I can't hear anything anyway. I may as well hear freaking "In Your Eyes" by Peter Gabriel instead of just because it's a very loud vacuum. It's like a shop vac sort of thing. It's very loud. So I like take my headphones out, I turn off the thing, and I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" And he's like, "No, I was just saying hi." And I'm like, "Oh, well, hey." And then I put my music back in, turn the vacuum back on, and I went to vacuuming. And then, not like 10 minutes later, he comes up to me again while I'm trying to like move the unplug the vacuum and bring it somewhere else, so that way I can continue vacuuming the store in like a line. When he just shows up and is like, "Hey man, how's it going?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's good. Yeah, I remember you." But obviously in a more like lighthearted tone, because at this point I'm just like, "Oh, this is a nice man who just wants to talk to me." Yeah, I'm down. It's like 9 o'clock. I have an hour to kill. I'm almost done vacuuming. What's up? And he starts talking to me, and he's like, "So, how long you been working here?" And I'm like, "Oh, like 8 months or so, not too crazy." And he's like, "Well, are you liking it so far?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, dude, it's like," and then I'm being genuine with this guy because it's just like, "Hey, this is a cool dude," as far as I'm concerned at that moment. Well, yeah. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I've been working here like for like 8 months, and honestly, it's maybe 8 or 9. I don't know how time works. Well, yeah, it's fantastic, like genuinely fantastic, and I mean this. This is one of the best things I've done because I just the people who I work with, like the job could be anything, but the people I work with over there make it so nice to be around. He's like, "Oh, it's awesome, man, yeah." And then he starts talking about his line of work, which if I'm gonna be honest, I didn't catch it, which is weird because it's probably the most important part of the topic of the story. But he's saying how like he came to America and he wanted to like work, but he didn't want to work his whole life. So he like found like a mentorship with some like, a nice couple doing something that I didn't catch in the story. And he's just like, yeah. So I mean, I got my foot in the door early. So I'm just working hard at that, and it's very fun. He said it's very fulfilling. He said he enjoys it, all that yada yada nonsense. And he's like, "Oh, but yeah." So he's like that, and he's like, and keep in mind, this conversation went for like half an hour, so I'm cutting out some bits where it was just kind of us talking. Like at one point towards the end, he was talking. He's like, "Man, I gotta know about your hair. Like, what it was with your hair. Because it's very long and crazy, and it's awesome." So obviously he's gonna ask about it because everyone asks about it because it's awesome. But ding ding ding. Yeah. So eventually he's like, "Hey, like, yeah, 'cause, have you got that like, are you like an entrepreneur mindset guy? Like, he's like, and I'm like, if there's something I'm like passionate about, I wouldn't mind like trying to like start a business based off of that. Not at all. very down for that. But you know, I mean, like when the time comes, sure. And he's like, okay, so you'd be interested in something like that. And I'd be like, I mean, yeah, like down the line eventually maybe, but like right now I'm pretty happy with where I am. And again, at this moment, I'm like, oh, it's just a dude chatting. But then he hits me with the, all right, well, yeah, well, I mean, hey, well, what's your number? And I'm like, okay. This man, as nice as he's been, because again, he's been a very lovely host of this conversation. That was when it hit. I'm like, oh, he's just trying to like get me into this thing that he's got going. And like, nothing wrong with that per se. Like it could have been something amazing, but typically, and this is a good general judge for you out there. If someone's got something really good going for them, they wouldn't just give it to you. They'd make you pay or do something crazy with it. They wouldn't just give it to you outright. They wouldn't give you the opportunity, just straight up. So, always take it with a grain of salt. Oh, for fuck's sake, damn snakes. But yeah, so, yeah, always keep that in mind when you're doing shit. So, but yeah, so he's like, what's your number? I'm like, okay, well, I mean, at this moment, it's like, I know what you're doing, but you're still kind of cool, I guess. So I gave him my number. And another thing that immediately tipped me off as to what was going on, he immediately called me and to make sure that it was actually my number. And I'm like, okay, dude, very, very nice of you to do that. But I mean, I get it, because obviously they're not gonna, whoever he's working for, isn't gonna want people to just give fake numbers. So he immediately calls to make sure it's actually my number, and then I get his name. I'm not gonna tell you his name, because again, he's still a nice guy. But let me only tell. And then he's like, "We keep in touch," and I'm like, I'm not very good at that, but I will try. Because keep in mind, I mean, like, as much as I'm like, okay, this guy's clearly trying to get me in on something that I don't really want to be in on, he was still a really nice guy. Let me tell you, he can sell, because he made this entire conversation that was effectively about trying to recruit me into something, but he did it in such a charming and like just casual way. It didn't feel like it was really anything crazy until about when he was actually trying to like get me somewhere in on this. And I was like, okay, yeah. But I mean, he still seemed like a really nice guy. And honestly, I hope whatever he's doing, because again, I didn't catch what he said he was what he was doing. So it could have just been like a cool tailoring business that he wants to get another tailor in there or something. But I hope it's not scamming people, and I hope he's not recruiting people constantly doing that, because this dude, he's too good for that. He's a really good businessman. He's a good salesperson. He should get into something with sales that's like legit. I'm hoping that whatever he's doing is legit. He's like, it could not be a scam. I have no idea, but from the judgments that I made, it definitely seemed like one. But I mean, you can never be too sure, I guess. But yeah, so just keep that in mind when you're talking to people. If someone just comes up to you and they is like super in your face and like confident in the way they speak, they might have ulterior motives. Just because most people are just gonna go up to you even as a worker and just be like, hey, how's it going? And they'll talk about life. They won't talk about like work and trying to get you into their work, So yeah, whatever it is, and he again, nice dude. So if he messages me, will I respond to him? No. I probably just block him if he tries to message me crazy. Probably, because again, I'm not trying to do that. It's not what I'm doing. Wish you would tell me what poisoning was. Hey, it's April 1st. That's wanky. But yeah, so all in all, the dude's really nice. But that just comes to my head where it's like people, and I guess it's not like scams per se, because that same sort of people exist all the time in like Walmarts and like big grocery stores, constantly trying to sell people on like different service providers for like internet and stuff like that. Like, hey, Like, they just show up in stores, and they just stand there and solicit a bunch of, like, their businesses and their like, ideas and their models and whatever the heck they're working on. They're selling it to people. And it's like, I mean, hey, you do you, man. Honestly, you do you. But I ain't gonna be part of it. That's just not me. Like, I remember there's, like, these specific people at, like, the Walmart that me and my family will tend to go to, who, like, tend to, have some weird stuff. I don't remember exactly. It's like an internet service provider or something. And depending on who I'm with at that time, however far the conversation goes, it ranges. Because if I'm with, like, my mom, she'll just be like, not interested. I don't care. Not interested. Which is completely fair. Because we're not interested. We already have a decent service provider. Not the best, but, we're not going to just take one from some random person at Walmart. And then if I'm with, like, my brother, he'll hear it out, and then he'll just be like, yeah, maybe, we'll see. When I'm alone and I come into contact with that, I listen for a little bit, and then I'm like, nah, I'm okay. Because I want them to feel heard. But also, with people like that, I don't really care for wasting their time. Because they're wasting everyone else's. And, they have a quota to fill or whatever the hell. I don't care. I feel like with things like that, where you're just, like, trying to, like, sell people on something, I'm not interested ever. And it's like, you can't bullshit a bullshitter. So the moment that other guy from before started, like, hitting me with signs of him, like, trying to sell me on something, I'm like, dude, I'm selling people absolute garbage on a constant basis. They're not garbage. Garbage is a hard word. It's not the right word either. I'm selling people on, like, programs and stuff constantly through my job. That's just how it is. It's like, with a lot of places you work, it's like, hey, we have this program. Make sure people are interested in it, and they buy it, and they get into the program. Because we need people to join the program. Or whatever that may be. And it's like, alright, yeah, we'll try, but, I mean, yeah, I'll try. But, yeah. But, it's just, people selling people stuff. I don't know if that's the name that I don't know how this works. I don't know exactly how this episode's gonna go, but it's gonna be based off that idea. But yeah, because, I mean, the people like that, they're wasting your time just trying to get themselves some extra money or trying to keep their company afloat or whatever. And it's like, I get it, but also, you don't actually care about the conversation. And that's the thing that kind of hurts when I think back to that guy who was at my job. He, like, seemed super into the conversation. He was super happy to be talking to me. But he clearly was that was all an act in my head. I'm like, I can't really wrap that around my head. Like, that was just an act. He was trying to be nice. He was being nice because that's, like, part of the program, Like, that's what he's told to do. He's like, get people interested, like, being nice, and then, easy peasy, lemon squeezy from there. But, I mean, I couldn't imagine, doing stuff like that. Like, I kind of do, with, like, the weird programs that my job tries to get me to sell. But also, it's just like, if I don't feel comfortable selling to a certain person, it's not like, hey, what the hell? Obviously, I guess technically kind of is. But it's just like, hey, I mean, like, we get it. And we just don't. But, I mean, obviously, we technically should. But we have our own, like, we can say, no, I don't really want to sell to that guy. He seems angry or upset or whatever, and I don't want to make his day worse. Stuff like that. For those of you watching the game, I'm hesitant to save because I'm poisoned by that damn snake, and I don't want to be poisoned forever. So I'm hoping that it goes away. Otherwise, I'll just have to save as Poison Man. Actually, I want to take a pause just to see how I cure this. So they say on the internet that you need an antidote, and if you don't, it'll just kill you. But you need Pippi or something. It's like a plant or a fruit or something. So we're gonna see if we can find some of that, and if not, we have to reload. So, sorry for those of you who are interested in the gaming. But yeah, I've already forgotten where I was. But yeah, so I mean, it's just people selling people shit. It's just a weird cycle, you know. I'm not entirely on board with it, but I mean, I get it, kinda. Unless the thing is actively harming someone else's success and only helping yourself, like, which is essentially just a scam. If you're scamming people, let me tell you, fuck you. I have no respect for you. And I don't think anyone would blame me for not having any respect for you. Scamming people's a dick move, obviously. You know, I don't think I'm exactly a bold person for saying that. We're just gonna reload the save. I don't know how to do that though. Maybe we just die or something. Definitely don't save. So maybe be screwed forever. We'll just die or something at some point. But yeah, I mean, it's just strange, you know. How many people have a job that involves like just scamming people, and like how the whole scamming thing exists. You know, constant calls. I get scam calls so many times a day. And I hate email because I don't really get much scam stuff in my email. I just hate email. I have a whole episode about why I hate email. Maybe that'll be the next one. But on phone calls in general, I get so many just spam calls from friggin' who knows what. Sometimes I'll even answer the phone, and then you know what I get? A whole lot of nothing. This isn't the right plant. But I mean, yeah, it's just very, very bizarre. You know. I'm so bad at keeping up with what I'm trying to say. I'm sorry, y'all. This is a horrible idea for a show. It's just a dementia patient going insane over time. That's all this is. Fuck you, crab. What was I just talking about? Like, literally just talking about. Right, scam calls, yeah. Because I get so many calls from so many people, and like a lot of times I'll answer it. There's there's nothing. And I'll usually just hang up after a few seconds. I don't say anything. Because I think I heard somewhere that they're trying to like get answers out of you during that call, so that they can like pretend to be you. So they'll have like a recording of you saying yes or no or whatever. And sometimes, I guess if they have the right information, it can work out for them pretty well. So I don't frick with that. But yeah, I mean, hey, whatever they do. But yeah, I hate that shit so much. And that's why a good reason why I hate texting my phone. I hate getting fucking text messages, phone calls, or like voicemails. God, voicemails. From, obviously, some voicemails are fine. Be like my mom, be like, hey, no, you're at work, grab something for me, would you? But other times, it'll just be, this is Amanda, and we're calling from the Financial Services Institute, letting you know that you can get a $5,000 bonus on your financial issues if you just call this number and give us this information, your social security and your date of birth. Please call. Thank you and have a great day. Just shit like that. And I'll like just wash, rinse, repeats of that, because obviously it'll be like, this is Tom from the Department of Ministry of Magic, and you are being charged $8,500 from the Department of Justice for some bullshit you did back in 2004. Please call now so we can solve this issue. Or just some dumb shit. And none of it ever makes sense. My sister gets a lot of messages from Citibank. None of us use Citibank because she gets a lot of like spam, like scam calls saying they're from Citibank and like they have an issue charging their account or something. They have like a strange charge on their file. Just the dumbest shit. It's the absolute dumbest shit. This is taking forever. I think the thing I read might have lied to me. But yeah, just scam calls suck. And there are also like other scams. Honestly, I don't think technically I've ever fallen for like a scam call. But as a kid, well, maybe not as a kid, as like a teenager, I fell pretty dumb to a lot of those like pop-up things whenever you're on like interesting websites. You know which ones I'm talking about. Sometimes you're on like sometimes you're feeling a little special down there, and you're like, hey, I want to start cranking the old meat flute down there. Hey, what are you gonna do? I'm freaking 15, or 16 or whatever. Give me some slack, Holmes. So it's just like you go on places like that, or you'll like wind up do on like some website that's like free games or something like that. Like, get this mobile game currency a lot for free. And this is only ever on my phone. I never screwed up the computer this way. And it was never even my phone. It was like someone else's, or like my tablet maybe, if anything. But so you get all those things where it's like, you are a winner for this thing, or it'll be like a robot with like the Google colors saying like, Google is suspending your account, and you have 3 minutes and 30 seconds to reply and stop this by downloading this app or whatever hoopla. And then you're just downloading a whole bunch of fucking viruses and shit onto your phone, which I didn't know back then. Obviously, I was just some worried kid who was like, "Oh god, oh no, I'm gonna get so much trouble. My thing is gonna be so." My Google account's being deleted. Oh no, what are they gonna do? I gotta stop this. And then I'd, download the thing. But then I'd be like, sort of like halfway through doing it, my senses would kick in. And I'd be like, this is stupid. Nothing's actually happening. It's just, it's nothing. This isn't anything. And then I'd close it. And then I'd continue with whatever I was trying to do. But I would have already downloaded something, and I was like, okay, I fixed it. It's fine. I'm sure it'll be fine. Fun fact, it never was. My devices were so slow for so long because of that. And yeah, just not fun. A slow device is just the worst thing you can imagine. Especially if it's like a phone or it's like a tablet or something. A computer. My younger brother would download so many things. Not like inappropriate videos or something like that, something suspicious, but just like games or something that you're supposed to pay for. They wouldn't be. And at the time, it was sort of like in everybody's computer, but it was pretty much mine. But everyone had the ability to use it because it was all just kind of in one room. If people needed a computer to type something up, they could use it. Whatever. If someone wanted to play something, they could play something. But it was generally my computer, and he put so many things on it. It ran so slow. Like, granted, it was also still an old computer, so things just loaded slow regardless. But yeah, that just the things that he would download on that. Eesh. Damn, wrong plant. But yeah, so people be scamming people, right? It's a thing that's been happening for so long now, and I'm trying to remember if like I've even like gone to step 2 of any of them, but I haven't. In my line of work, however, I really need to like stop trying to talk through a yawn. It doesn't exactly come out great, so I apologize there. But regardless, in my line of work, we sell gift cards, and that's like number one thing for freaking asshole scam boys to be asking for from people is, hey, give me this. Oh, build rafts? No, I'm not doing that. But yeah, like they'll be asking people for like a bunch of just sussy stuff that like $500 in gift cards or $1,000 gift cards, and sometimes we'd catch it. Other times, they'd be very just like determined. Like the people getting the cards would be like super quiet and shut up about it, which is suspicious. But sometimes like Xiaomi won't do it. But there was this one couple in particular, who was getting $1,000 in Target gift cards. You know, just do it. And I was like, dude, are you sure like no one's forcing you to buy these or anything? Like, but I was like, who are you getting? Like, is it a gift for somebody? And she was just like, yeah. And I'm like, well, I hope they enjoy it. And they're like, oh, I hope so too. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, seems fine. And like, it automatically prompts for it to be like, hey, it needs to make sure you're not being forced to get these, right? And I asked her, and she's like, nope, it's all good. And I'm like, okay, cool. She said it was a gift. I just believed her. And then about 20 minutes later, she comes in saying that she was scammed. And they already scratched the backs off, they got the pins, and they immediately just brushed it off and went away. And at that point, I felt like such an asshole. And being on, having not been on the receiving end of a scam, like you can in your head you're like, oh yeah, no one's gonna fall for that. It's like, it's just so obvious. But for some people it's not. And I feel like that's the thing that people forget. Some people, stuff just happens, and you know they panic about it. I've panicked about things before, and it's caused nothing but problems. And obviously, the same thing can happen for everybody. And I tend to watch a lot of like Atomic Shrimp, with all this scam stuff. So I know how prevalent scamming can be for people, and it sucks. It really does suck. But regardless, what I'm trying to get at is being on the other end, being on the end of the cashier who is giving them the gift card after assuming everything's fine, and then having it not be fine. It stings, dude. It stings so hard because they come in so distressed and just absolutely just flabbergasted about it. They don't know what's happening, and you at this point you barely know what's happening. It's just a disaster, and you feel nothing but just sad because you let this happen, and now someone is going through this shit because of you, essentially. Not necessarily because of you, it's mostly because of the scammer, but in your head it's like, I let them get these cards. I checked them out. This is on me. I felt that the entire time we were talking because it was such a huge amount of money. And they were saying how the person who they gave them to, they emailed them saying that there's a fraudulent charge on their card and that they needed to call this number to, get situated. And they called the number and they said that there was a fraudulent charge in their account, and they asked to verify the account number. And then they said, yep, there's a charge there. And so they pulled it up. They showed them there was a fraudulent charge. And that they needed to replace or punish this by getting gift cards. And the moment they said that they were emailed about a fraudulent charge in their bank account, I knew that, yeah, they were getting scammed. But obviously they didn't say this until after it all happened. And they actually gave me the full story. And, Jesus. I felt awful. I was with another coworker, and the thing is, all of them were confused as to how they got their bank account information if they weren't actually the bank. And I'm trying to tell them they didn't have the information. They were just saying they did, so that way you can they would gain a sense of trust with you, so that way they can get your card information from you, from telling them, because you're like, oh, well, it can't be. And they'd be like, yep, give me your information, I'll run it through. And then getting the gift cards to try and fix that. And I tried to explain it to them. I don't think they got it, because even after we had the whole conversation, they're like, well, I still don't know how they got your card information to begin with if they're not from the bank. Like, they didn't have it. Like, they didn't, no one was fraudulently charged except for what just happened today with the scam. But either way, I wasn't gonna try to argue with them or fight with them about the logistics behind the plan of attack from these assholes. I was just upset that they got their money taken away, because they were such nice people, and they didn't deserve that happening to them. But people were fucking evil. And since then, I've been a lot more, at least tried to be. Well, in a lot of, yeah, I generally try to be more assertive about that. You know, like making sure everyone knows that whatever's going on is actually what they think is going on, because otherwise I'm not selling them this card. Because it's just, you can't, especially if it's like too high of a number, you can never be too sure. You really can't. And it just hurts, man. It stings like nothing else to just try to help people and then realize that you just hurt the shit out of them. It sucks. It sucks so bad. But I'm not trying to make it a pity party for me. I'm trying to just let you know that if you're a cashier at somewhere that sells gift cards, or does like MoneyGram orders or whatever, just make sure that 100% there is no way that there is anything going on other than just them getting a gift card for somebody. Because at one point I was worried because someone got like two $500 Visa gift cards, and I'm like, oh, that's a big iffy. I think it was four actually. I think they're getting $2,000 out of gift cards. I'm like, that's the max. Like, that is scary. So I triple, double, quadruple, a million times check with them to make sure that whatever the hell was going on was what they thought was going on, and they were sure, because the story, and again, this is a very sketchy story. Their nieces, their two nieces that were coming over, they haven't seen them in a few years, so they figured they'd get them something nice. And I was like, okay, that's fair, but like, in my head, I'm like, did they get a word from their parents or the nieces themselves saying that they were coming over? Because are they sure that that's them? Was it an email from them saying, hey, we're going to be coming over, hope you get us something nice? And they're just, like, you know, like, you never know. You can never be too sure with these things. So I kept asking her and making sure, and I eventually kind of got annoying, but I was like, listen, I'd rather you hate me by the end of this than you lose a bunch of money. I feel like that's the moral of the story. Because I hate it when I leave a customer with a bad experience, but sometimes it is necessary to make sure that they are safe. So, for the love of goodness, make sure they're doing okay. Make sure nothing's going on. I know it can be hard to like bring stuff up like that, but you gotta, because it's not about you, it's about them. It's their money on the line. The worst thing that could happen was for someone else to just lose like everything. And it's not your fault. At the end of the day, if something goes by, if something slips by your radar, it's not your fault. But just know, you want to know in your head that you tried as hard as you could. And you can't feel that unless you at least try a little bit. So just try, you know. And I'm not saying it's your fault if something slipped by me. And I'm not trying to blame myself for it. Even though I kind of do, but that's just me, because I'm an asshole myself. Flying crap. Wow. Nature's really come a long way, hasn't it? Oh no. Invisible bird was carrying it through the air. Oh, hello, tinier crab. No, but yeah. Just, scams suck. Scammers suck way more than the scams do. Scammers are just awful people. If you scam people, I cannot hesitate this enough. Whether or not you think you are, whether you think it's a good thing, it's like serial killer mode, like mindset. Like if you think you're doing a good thing, but you're actually just technically scamming people or hurting people, go fuck yourself. And obviously, it's not like a oh my god, I can't believe you said that sort of thing. You know, it's just something that just makes sense. No one wants an asshole. No one wants to be the asshole that's ruining other people's lives. But also some people do. Some people want to be that guy. Some people just need money for what they think they need, and they don't care how they get it. Fuck you. The world doesn't revolve around you. Your world revolves around you, technically. But literally, no. There's so much more going on. Don't be that asshole. I genuinely don't know where this episode got ahead of me. I didn't have anything planned for this one. I just wanted to talk about that one guy in particular. If you're people like that, who just go out to people who are just doing their job, and you try to just encourage them into something else that you're doing, it better be for a good thing. But it's not going to be a good thing. That's the thing. You need to understand that. If you're going to go away with anything, A, don't try to help people who you think are being scammed. But B, make sure you yourself are not being scammed. Because whilst I say before that, don't fuck over other people to make sure that you are okay. But at the same time, just make sure that you are okay first before anyone else. Like, don't go out of your way to sabotage other people to make sure you're okay. But just make sure that you are okay with the standings that you are in. Make sure you are not being scammed. Don't throw someone else at a scammer in order to save yourself from being scammed. But just don't scam. Don't get scammed. Which I know is... yeah, you still get scammed. It's easy. I haven't done it. You won't do it either. It's fine. Just don't. But just if something sounds too good to be true, it is. If someone's coming up to you with super confidence and super personality, and they're not just asking for they're not saying something like, "Hey, you're cute." Is that a duck? But yeah, if they're not just obviously flirting with you, because obviously that's a whole other thing. But if they're just going up to you with a business opportunity and they're being super nice, don't fucking listen to it, because more often than not, it is going to be something sketchy, something that can get you in trouble, something that can just get you down a shit rabbit hole. And for that guy, I hope you find something that is meaningful, because he seemed really nice. Obviously, again, that's probably just the act. You gotta sound nice in order for people to get pulled on the hook. But yeah, which is exactly why I'm never speaking to that man again. I hope that he never comes back to my store, so that we can just leave it on what I consider a good note, even though it absolutely was just what he wants me to think. Don't, do as I say, not as I do, I guess that's, but at the same time, I'm not going to communicate with that guy, because I obviously know he was just using me to do some shady shit, potentially. And I can't say for sure, but again, no one's going to come to you with $1 million idea and just say, "Hey, here it is." They're going to ask for something. So I guess from there, we'll leave it at that. It was a surprisingly longer episode than I was expecting it to be. So sorry, I probably rambled for way longer than I should have about a lot of things. But with that, thank you all for tuning in to this episode of Stranded Deep in Conversation. And, I gotta say, thank you again. Some of my stuff has been doing a little bit better than others, and I'm really grateful to see that some people are sticking around for certain things, and I appreciate it. So thank you all. Everyone who has even looked at my content, thank you. Serious thank you. And I hope you have a good rest of your day. Hope it's great. Bye now, y'all.